Hey everyone, it's Lucas here, and welcome back to Immigration News with Lucas.
If you're a green card holder, what I'm about to tell you could literally make or break your American dream. There are 7 brand new travel rules that just went into effect, and one tiny mistake, even something as simple as how long you stay overseas or what stamp you get when you return, could actually cost you your green card. Yes, you heard that right, everything you've worked so hard for could be gone in seconds if you don't know these updates. I know so many of you are planning holiday trips or visiting family abroad right now, but what if I told you that one wrong move could make immigration officers think you've abandoned your US residency? What if your re-entry gets questioned, or worse, you're stopped at the airport and told you can't come back? These new rules are catching people off guard, and even long-time green card holders are being denied entry for simple, honest mistakes. So, before you pack your bags or book that flight, you need to hear this. I'm going to break down every single rule clearly, simply, and with real examples so you can travel safely and keep your status protected. But first, do me a favor, hit that like button, because this video could literally save your green card. Let's get into it. Alright, let's jump straight into it, my friends, because this isn't just another round of immigration updates, this is serious. I've been getting flooded with questions lately from green card holders asking, Lucas, can I still travel abroad for more than 6 months? Can I visit my family overseas without losing my residency? Or even, what if I'm stuck abroad for personal reasons, will that affect my green card? And I get it. After years of waiting, working, and dreaming for your permanent residency, the last thing you want is to lose it over something you didn't even know had changed. So, here's the truth. Yes, the US government has tightened travel monitoring and re-entry screening for permanent residents. These new travel rules aren't about scaring people, they're about ensuring that anyone holding a green card is truly maintaining their permanent residence in the United States. And that's where so many people, often unknowingly, are getting caught in the web of new regulations. Now, let's be real for a moment. Most green card holders think, as long as I don't stay abroad for more than 6 months, I'm fine. But that's no longer a simple rule you can rely on. In fact, immigration officers are now looking at a pattern of your travel history: how often you leave, how long you stay, and whether your main home, job, or even family are still in the US. You could stay under the 6-month mark each trip and still get questioned if it looks like you're spending more time overseas than here. And this isn't hypothetical. I've personally seen multiple cases in the past few months where long-time green card holders, people who've lived in the US for over 10 years, were stopped at the airport, questioned for hours, and told they might have abandoned their residency. Some of them had kids here, mortgages here, and jobs waiting, but officers pointed to their repeated long absences as evidence that they weren't truly residing in the US anymore. So, what's happening exactly? The Department of Homeland Security has quietly rolled out stricter enforcement on residency intent. That means they're cross-checking travel records, social security activity, tax filings, and even your state driver's license renewals to see if your life is truly centered in the United States. This used to be something they'd only dig into if you applied for citizenship, but now, it's being used at ports of entry. That's why I keep saying, don't take your green card for granted. Imagine this: you arrive at JFK after visiting your parents overseas for 5 months. You're excited to be back home. But at customs, the officer starts asking, how long have you been abroad? Do you work in the US? Do you rent or own your home here? You answer confidently, but then they notice your travel pattern: you've made 4 similar trips in the last 2 years. Now, suddenly, you're being told that your green card might be in jeopardy because it looks like your permanent residence isn't so permanent anymore. That's where many people get caught off guard. They assume that as long as their card is valid, they're untouchable. But remember, the card itself is proof of status, not a guarantee of protection. If immigration authorities believe you've abandoned your residency, they can refer your case to immigration court and start the process of revoking your green card. Now, one of the most important new rules to understand, and I can't stress this enough, is the re-entry intent check. This is where Customs and Border Protection, CBP, officers now have broader discretion to question green card holders returning from overseas trips. They're trained to look for certain warning signs such as extended absences, foreign employment, or evidence of maintaining a permanent home abroad. If they suspect that your primary ties aren't in the US, they can mark your record and refer it for further review. And once that happens, it's not easy to undo. Here's something a lot of people don't know: CBP officers now use entry pattern data analysis tools. That means every time you travel, your entry and exit dates are logged and reviewed automatically. The system can flag unusual travel behavior, like frequent long absences, for follow-up. You might not get pulled aside every time, but if it becomes a pattern, you're at risk. And let's talk about another big change: foreign tax filings and overseas property ownership. In recent cases, green card holders have been questioned about maintaining businesses or homes abroad. While it's not illegal to own property or pay taxes overseas, it becomes a problem if it looks like your primary life is not in the US. For example, if your bank statements show constant foreign income, or your tax return shows zero US earnings for multiple years, immigration may see that as proof that you've shifted your base of living out of the country. You see, the whole concept of a green card is built on one core idea: that your intention is to live permanently in the United States. That doesn't mean you can't travel or spend time abroad, but it does mean your main life, your home, job, family, and day-to-day existence should still be in the US, and these new rules are designed to test whether that's truly the case. Now, I know many of you watching might be thinking, Lucas, what if I have legitimate reasons to travel? What if my parents are sick abroad, or I need to handle family matters? And that's a fair question. Life happens and immigration officers know that. The key difference now is documentation and preparation. If you ever have to travel for extended periods, make sure you can prove why. Things like medical records, letters from employers, or family documentation can show that your trip was temporary and necessary. There's also been an increase in cases where green card holders traveling frequently are advised to apply for a re-entry permit before leaving. This is one of the most underused but crucial protections out there. A re-entry permit is like a safety shield. It tells immigration that you intend to return and keeps your green card valid even if you stay abroad for up to 2 years. Without it, any stay over 6 months raises red flags. Over a year, and you're automatically presumed to have abandoned your residency unless you can prove otherwise. But here's what's catching people off guard: even with a re-entry permit, immigration still looks at your overall behavior. If you're constantly outside the US even with valid permits, it sends a message that you're not living here permanently. So, think of it this way: a re-entry permit is a tool, not a free pass. Use it wisely, and always keep a paper trail that shows your connection to the US. Now let's talk about another subtle but dangerous area: renewing your green card while abroad. Many holders assume they can just file for renewal online while staying overseas, but that's risky now. USCIS expects you to be physically present in the US when you apply for renewal or replacement. If you're doing it while living mostly abroad, it can trigger questions about your residency intent. And when you eventually come back, you might face more scrutiny at the airport. One of the new policies that recently started gaining attention involves secondary inspection records. This is when CBP takes you aside for questioning, fingerprints you again, and makes notes about your travel pattern. That record doesn't disappear; it's stored in your immigration file and can affect future entries or even your citizenship application down the road. Officers can see your past interviews, and if they notice you've been warned before, it increases your risk of being charged with abandonment. Speaking of citizenship, these new travel rules have a direct impact on your naturalization eligibility. Let's say you're planning to apply for US citizenship soon. If you've had multiple long trips abroad, even if each was under 6 months, it can disrupt your continuous residence requirement. USCIS officers will review your entire 5-year travel history and may deny your application if it seems like your time in the US was not consistent or if your ties abroad seem stronger. So, if you're a green card holder who's thinking about applying for citizenship in the next few years, start preparing now. Keep track of your travel dates, maintain US tax filings every year, keep your driver's license active, and make sure your mailing address is always in the US. These small details matter because they show evidence that your home base is truly here. Now let's get real. The United States is not trying to punish immigrants. These travel rules are part of a broader effort to ensure that permanent residency remains tied to genuine residence. But unfortunately, that means even honest travelers get caught up in the system if they're not careful. I've heard heartbreaking stories: people who spent years getting their green cards, only to lose them because they stayed a few months too long caring for a loved one abroad. Others were flagged simply because they didn't file their US taxes while they were overseas. And that's what breaks my heart, because most of these situations are avoidable with the right information. The government doesn't always make these updates clear or easy to understand. They release policy memos and officer training guides that aren't exactly written for the average person. That's why I'm here to break it all down for you in plain English, so you know exactly what's going on and how to protect yourself. Now, here's a scenario that really opened people's eyes recently. A green card holder who had been in the US for over 15 years traveled abroad to manage family property. He stayed for 7 months, came back, and got questioned at the airport. The officer let him through but warned him that his stay raised concerns. The next time he traveled, even though it was only for 4 months, he was stopped again. They accused him of living abroad and sent him a notice to appear in immigration court. He was stunned. He had no criminal record, paid taxes, owned a home in the US, but what hurt him was the pattern: too many long trips without a re-entry permit, and inconsistent job records in the US. That's why I say, if you're a green card holder, think long term. Every trip you take is part of your immigration story. It's not about being scared, it's about being smart. Travel, visit your loved ones, handle your business, but always plan ahead. Keep your documentation ready, stay connected to your US life, and avoid patterns that could be misinterpreted. And please, don't rely on random online forums or hearsay. I know how tempting it is to read what others are saying, but immigration rules change fast. What was true a year ago might get you in trouble today. Always double check with reliable sources, or better yet, speak with an immigration attorney if your travel plans are complicated. Also, be careful with using foreign addresses for official correspondence or banking while you're abroad. That's another small but major red flag. Immigration systems are interconnected now. Tax data, DMV records, and even postal addresses are shared between agencies. If your record shows that your main mailing address is outside the US, it can raise questions about your true residence. Another key change is that airlines and border systems now share passenger travel data more efficiently. This means even if you leave the US by land or take connecting flights through other countries, your departure is logged. There's no such thing anymore as no one will notice. Every trip counts, every absence is recorded. And I want to talk about something very important before we wrap up: what to do if you've already made one of these mistakes. Maybe you stayed abroad too long, or you didn't realize your re-entry permit expired. Don't panic, but don't ignore it either. If you're outside the US right now and your green card has been questioned or taken away, you can apply for a returning resident visa, SB1, at your nearest US consulate. It's not easy to get, but if you have strong proof of your ties to the US and a legitimate reason for your long absence, it's possible to save your status. For those still in the US, take this as your wake-up call. Review your travel history. Think about your next trip. Ask yourself, would this look like I'm moving my life abroad? If the answer is yes, maybe it's time to adjust your plans. Remember, it's not just about how long you're gone, it's about how connected you remain to your American life. The bottom line? The era of easy travel for green card holders is changing. With these 7 new enforcement rules in place, every trip matters more than ever. But the good news is, with the right preparation and awareness, you can still travel freely and confidently. Knowledge is your best defense, and that's exactly why this channel exists. So stay tuned, my friends. In my next video, I'll walk you through the exact signs immigration officers look for when deciding if someone has abandoned their residency and how you can make sure you're never flagged. Until then, keep your documents in order, travel smart, and remember, the dream you've built is worth protecting. If this video helped you or opened your eyes to something new, please take 1 second right now to hit that like button. It helps this video reach more green card holders who need this information before it's too late. Subscribe if you haven't already, because on Immigration News with Lucas, we don't just talk about policies, we help you protect your future. Stay safe, stay informed, and I'll see you in the next one.